Good morning, Illini. I'm Matt Schrock, your host here at Healthy Illini Podcast. We're glad you're with us, and we're excited to have this conversation. This is actually a follow-up conversation to one we had a couple years ago, and I'll get into that as I introduce the guests. And as I introduce the guests, we will talk about that previous episode. But we're glad you're with us. If you're new to the program, welcome. Check out our archive. If you've been with us for a while, I'm really glad you're here. Today we're talking about a topic that is kind of pointing towards summer, but it's important for the entire year, and that's fire safety. And so my guests today both come from the local fire departments. First up is Robert Simmons. He is the Deputy Fire Marshal with the Champaign Fire Department, and he's a return guest. He was here back in June 27 of 2023 when we did the first episode on fire safety. That was episode 76, so be sure to check that out. But Robert, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
And I'm also joined by a representative of the Urbana Fire Department, and that is rbwild. He's the Campus Fire Prevention Officer. And Ryan, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having us.
I also want to mention that if you're listening, that Ryan and Robert are both assigned representatives to the campus. So if you have questions, if you have concerns, if you need anything, you can reach out to them because they are representatives of their fire departments here on campus. So like I said, every now and then we have a chance to do a follow-up on an episode, and it was about 2 years ago we did the first fire safety episode, and that one was a lot on like dorm safety and grill safety, and so I really encourage you to go back in the archive and check that out because we won't rehash a lot of that because we've already talked about it and it's there to be listened to. But I wanted to touch on a few other topics today that are kind of that are related but kind of go a little bit step further, and there are some things that we just didn't get a chance to talk to in that first one. But before we start talking about fire safety specifically, in the previous episode we talked about smoke detectors. But in this one, I wanted to start off and asking about something that's not really fire safety, but is related, and that is carbon monoxide detectors. And those are important, but not everybody might know why they're important. So would you share a little bit about what they are and why you want to make sure you're protected by them?
Yeah, so it does fall under fire safety. There's fire code requirements for carbon monoxide detection, state laws from the state fire marshal's office and legislature and whatnot. Carbon monoxide is a product of incomplete combustion. So really the place that they're required is anywhere where there's fuel-fired appliances like gas stove, or if you have an attached garage where cars could be parked inside. So typically where it becomes an issue is like somebody has a leak from the furnace or the exhaust is coming back into the structure. So that's the type of things that put off carbon monoxide. The problem is that carbon monoxide is odorless, tasteless. You can't see it or anything. So you may not know if you have a leak or something until you're getting tired or passed out or whatever. I mean, there's been news stories the last few years of like a family on vacation in a private house or even a hotel that the whole family unfortunately passed away. And when we see those stories, sometimes there's no suspicious activity or anything. It's like, yeah, they need to check for carbon monoxide. So that's the reason it's required to have that in those facilities that, again, have attached garages. If you have fuel-fired appliances, there may be one other one I'm thinking of. The good thing on campus, and I don't remember how in-depth we went last time, unless you own your home, that is typically a responsibility of your landlord or the property owner. So it shouldn't be something where somebody has to replace their carbon monoxide alarm or look to see if they have it. What I would say from Champaign's side, and Ryan in the city of Urbana have a similar method too, if you're not sure if you have carbon monoxide detection or you think maybe something's due for a battery or you feel like somebody's not taking care of that responsibility to provide them, you can call, it's similar to a community development type department to make sure that they're present and working appropriately.
So it is a part of like the landlord's responsibility on campus, but if there's somebody that does have a house, I'm gonna ask for them.
Yep.
Let's say they're the owner on that. Is there like, where do you put them? Is there how many should you have in a house? And can you get? I mean, are they separate from a smoke detector? Are they combination? You know, the things, because like smoke detectors are pretty common. Like you've seen them, you have an idea of where they need to go in the house and things like that. Yeah. But this is something a little bit different. So I didn't know if it was similar or not.
So in Champaign, and Ryan can speak to Urbana in a second too. Their crews will go out and do it. We get requests in the city of Champaign. We get donation smoke alarms, carbon monoxide alarms. They are both required to be sealed battery now, so you don't have to change the battery. If you already have them in place and they have not reached their expiration date, there's a date on the back of the detector that tells you when it was put in service or when it was created. I mean, there's kind of back and forth on when it's officially 7 to 10 years from its date, but once they reach their end of life date, they should be replaced with sealed battery. That's part of the state law, and I mean, that's what's going to be sold for new moving forward. The guideline for carbon monoxide alarms is within 15 feet of the sleeping rooms. So if we're thinking like a single family home, typically the hallway outside of your bedrooms is the best place for those. And we also say one on every level of the house. So you got that one covered. If you got one first floor or basement, one in each of those floors as well is a good idea. And they do have combination detectors. They have wall plug detectors, the ones you can hang on the ceiling, similar to a smoke alarm. So there's a lot of different variations out there, but those are the locations to mount them.
Is the test on them the same as like a smoke alarm? Like a smoke alarm, you hold the button and it beeps. Is that the same kind of idea for a carbon monoxide?
Yep, and if anybody has one, typically it's mostly standard, I think. Everybody knows what a smoke alarm sounds like when the battery's dying, that chirp that you can't ever find where it's coming from. It always happens in the middle of the night, and you're trying to track down what room. Pretty standard, other than the talking ones. There's usually 3 long beeps if it's indicating there's a smoke issue. Carbon monoxides will typically have 4 very quick beeps. So those are typically ways you can find out that they've been activated for a reason. And then the low battery or end of life chirp may be a very similar sound to that little chirp you're trying to track down in the middle of the night every minute. Yeah, they're pretty standard in how they operate, other than the speaking ones versus just the beeping.
So yeah, I mean I just wanted to ask about it because we did talk about smoke alarms last time, and there's a slight difference, between the two, and they detect different things, and that's really the important part of it. As we're going forward now, some other topics for safety. We talked about in a college town, you have a lot of new renters, might even have some new owners and things like that getting their first homes. And something that might be a feature in that home that they might not be familiar with before is a fireplace. And, fireplaces are cool. You love the pictures. They give a great aesthetic. But there are important things to know about how to use a fireplace. So what are some of the safety tips for using a fireplace for the first time? Checks, things like that. What do they need to know?
Sure, absolutely. Obviously, we need to figure out what type of fireplace you have in your residence is first and foremost, whether it's a wood-burning fireplace, an electric fireplace, or a gas-fed fireplace. Each have their own hazard characteristics per each one. Your wood-burning fireplaces are going to have creosote deposits and also have like embers from the actual material that's burning. Your electric fireplaces are going to have the risk of not being installed correctly. Your gas-fed fireplaces can have issues with pilot lights or the carbon monoxide that we just talked about. Knowing which type you have and the hazards associated with them, is important.
So you figured out what they are. Are there certain things you need to prep? Like with grills, you need to prep before you use the first time. I'm assuming fireplaces have some of the similar kinds of ideas. Are there things you need to check before you fire it up for the first time, or is it just a matter of starting it and kind of monitoring the first time you use it?
Yeah, absolutely. If it's a wood-burning fireplace, the chimney should be cleaned and inspected annually by a professional. Remove the ashes regularly and, keep the area around the hearth clear of combustibles. Gas fireplaces should be inspected for gas leaks and pilot light functionality. For the electric units, make sure the cords and outlets are in good condition and rated for that appliance use.
I would tail on to Ryan's too. If you just had one installed for whatever reason, it should be done through permitting to make sure it's installed. But dealing with a campus setup where people are changing residences quite a bit, if you move into a home where one already exists, I would highly recommend you have it checked before you use it. Don't just work under the assumption it's good until next year. We have had instances where people don't even think about it. They've moved in. We had one where we asked them, when did you move in? 7 years ago. Did you ever have it inspected or cleaned? Nope. Hadn't used it for 7 years. But you get, depending on the types of guards that they have over the flue or the exhaust or chimney at the top of the house, I mean, you can get bird nests, all kinds of things inside of the flue as well. So it's recommended if you're changing residences and they have one, have it checked out before you use it.
I will say also the one that is easy to look past is make sure that your damper is open so that those toxic gases and superheated smoke can escape properly.
So who do you contact if you need to have it? Like, who do you come to for an inspection? Is that something the fire department to do? Is that, somebody that's a specialty job in the area? Who do they contact? How do they reach out about this?
Yeah, it's going to be a private contractor. We've all seen the chimney sweep in, what's the old famous Disney movie?
Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins, yes. So, yeah, there's companies out there that specialize in cleaning chimneys, and they have the tools to get it done quickly and effectively. So that's who you should reach out to.
And yeah, and it is important. It's one of those things that, like, you move into a new place, you assume somebody else has done it, but you're better safe than sorry. Verify that it's been done, or just do it yourself. Because that, especially the chimney, the flue, the blockage. You talk about bird's nest. I mean, I know people who have dealt with that kind of stuff, and even they didn't even have fire damage. They had smoke damage because it just the fire was fine, but the smoke got into the house and things like that.
And with the stuff that we're into, my wife wants to use a chimney or a fireplace. I don't even want to use them. I don't care about getting it inspected, cleaned. I mean, with the type of work that we do, I barely want to turn on light switches sometimes because of electricity and all that stuff. So, yes, that is outside of even fireplaces. I mean, most fire incidents that we deal with, unless there is some type of criminal involvement, almost everything is due to a lack of maintenance across the spectrum, or improper use.
Lack of maintenance, that brings up another idea. If you have a wood burning fireplace, you have the thermal bricks that are in the back of it that absorb the BTUs coming off that fire. You need to inspect those and make sure there's no cracks or gaps in between those bricks, because that superheated radiant heat can escape through those and catch a fire behind the rated assembly of that flue.
So let's move on to the next stage of fire safety that I wanted to ask about, and that is fire extinguishers. So let's say, God forbid, something happens, you need to extinguish a fire or something's going on. It's always nice to have one there, but not everybody thinks about it and where to have it. In apartment complexes, you see them in the hallway and behind the glass or hanging somewhere, things like that. But if someone wants one in their home or their apartment personally, they may not know how to get it or how to maintain it, that sort of thing. So would you talk a little bit about keeping fire extinguishers in your home?
Well, it brings up another point back to what we stated about landlord responsibilities. And this isn't about calling your landlord stuff, but one thing people don't understand, we do extinguisher training for the university multiple times a year. They schedule it for students and staff. For people in multifamily dwellings, and you mentioned the ones in the hallway and common areas, some people don't realize that you do not have to be provided one inside of your unit. So for apartments, home, whatever it is, I mean, don't just assume that you have one because you live in an apartment building. Like, they do not have to provide one in there. The best recommendation for home use is to just get a disposable one, because it doesn't have to be inspected and refilled and all that every year or charged. And you can get those on Amazon. You can get them at hardware stores. They're typically just a class ABC extinguisher, it says on the packaging. It also tells you the lifespan on it and what to do with it when it's empty. Or hopefully you don't have to empty it, but what you do with it when it reaches a certain age to dispose of it.
So I do want to ask real quick about some different types of them. If I'm looking on Amazon, if I just put in fire extinguisher, I may get, Tonka has a kid's toy. What am I looking for here? And then there are some that I've seen that have the gauge on top. Is that different? And as far as keeping lifespan, would you share a little bit about the different types and what you're looking for when you're trying to order one?
Well, like we were talking about, just a general all-purpose or most all-purpose ABC is common. Ordinary combustibles, flammable liquids, energized electrical equipment is ABC. And that's why they're best for home use. It's almost anything you could be doing in your house. So looking for the classification of them, again, disposable is typically best for home use, but an ABC extinguisher, you'll see that. I would say looking at the manufacturer's recommendations is better than just saying in general. Make sure you shake it every once in a while, or some will have gauges just like the ones you see in businesses and apartment buildings that get refilled. That tells you it is still in a good range. But depending on the manufacturer, it could mean just because that gauge is in green, it's still by chance past its age recommendation that they say to keep it. I don't know how every individual one works in terms of maintenance. So what we would say is just same thing as with smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms is it'll come with a manual on how to do it, how to maintain it when you need to think about getting rid of it. So yeah, the gauge typically though, if you see the needle in the green range, just like in a business, that means that it should technically still be charged. But even those, you do have to occasionally pick them up, shake them, to keep the extinguishing agent from settling. So,
do you have a recommendation? I mean, unofficial. I'm not putting you on record here. Well, Robert said, but unofficially, like how many you should have in a home for certain size. Like obviously, I would think kitchen makes a lot of sense. Laundry room where you have lint traps and things like that makes a lot of sense. But is there a recommendation for like so many feet apart, or if you have so much square footage, you have so many, anything like that?
I don't know if there is a set number that I would recommend for maintenance. Those are the two common areas I think of, and I have one. Having one in your garage isn't a bad idea. And I would also say it seems a little excessive, but keeping one in your bedroom is not a bad idea. Because, knock on wood, most home fires occur when people are at home, even sleeping. They occur at night. And I mean, who knows, you wake up in the middle of the night, your smoke alarm's going off, or you sense smoke, you may have small fire. It's not a bad idea if you're going to go, not necessarily overboard, but full bore into I'm getting extinguishers in my home. Consider one for your primary bedroom too.
Well, and also, we have one there because in my layout, if a fire happens in my home, likely it's going to be in the middle in the larger room, which separates my bedroom from the kitchen, from the laundry room, so I wouldn't be able to get to those places if something happened there. So we have one in our bedroom for that reason. That again, if I wake up in the middle of the night, it's going to be handy. It's going to be there.
And we're not recommending huge extinguishers. I mean, everything comes with a cost, unfortunately, nowadays. I mean, detectors and all that. I think that I found 2 disposable ones that were perfect for home use. Got both of them for like $30 or $35.
That was my next question, like size-wise. Like what are you looking for, like cubic volume or something?
It will just tell you recommended for home use, residential use. So there's different variations you can go with.
So the last area I wanted to kind of touch on today is because it is summer, and with summer comes lots of outside activities. I like them too. And last time we talked about grills, which is important because a lot of people grill outside, but that's not the only outdoor activity. There's also fire pits. I have a grill in my backyard. I have a fire pit in my backyard. I have a family that likes to gather camping, and we like to have fires there. So would you just would you touch on open fire kind of activities and outdoor and some safety there? What are things that listeners need to know about when conducting an open flame of that nature?
Sure. Everyone loves a good fire pit. I've got one in my backyard as well, but it is important to make sure that you enjoy that in a safe manner. If you're going to create one from scratch, it's important to use a metal or stone ring to contain the fire. Keep it at least 10 to 15 feet away from your house or apartment. Place it on a non-combustible surface, so whether that be concrete pavers or you put down some rock first. You don't want to put it straight on grass or obviously a wood deck that's combustible. And also clear a safety zone around that pit and make sure that that fire is not going to communicate to other parts of the lawn or property.
What do you mean by a safety zone? Like, what does that mean? Like, 5 feet of no grass, 3 feet, 2 feet of no grass. What are you talking about when you say a safety zone?
Sure. I wouldn't have your lawnmowers or your gas cans or anything around. If you have a storage shed or you have some trees that are overhanging, fires grow vertically, so it's important to make sure that you don't have any overhanging shrubbery or bushes that the fire can communicate to and then possibly spread to other structures or yards.
So let's say I've been outside, I'm having my fire, I'm having a great time, doing good. It's now late in the evening, I'm ready to go to bed. How do I douse this fire? I mean, what's the best way to make sure that you're safe on this?
Sure. Obviously, putting it out with water is going to be the way you want to do that. Use copious amounts of water. Stir the ashes of the embers. Make sure that it gets to all of the areas of the fire. And then just put your hand down there and see if you can feel any radiant heat. I wouldn't touch the actual embers or anything like that, but see if you can find or feel any heat. If you don't feel anything on the back of your hand, then you should be good to go. But obviously, putting that out in a safe manner, and then also A lot of people will burn their yard waste. That's, in the city of Champaign, that's a no-no. I know it is in the city of Urbana as well. So making sure that you're actually using firewood and the correct combustible materials that's allowed by your jurisdiction in your city is important to make sure that you're not, violating any city ordinances.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that just because both cities do have ordinances with the distances and size of the rings and all that, and I can't speak to every step in there. We're in this role serving the university, and we think about the students. We deal with fraternities a lot. We deal with apartments a lot, and we get questioned about single-family homes, which could be around here. I would also just make the recommendation, apartment buildings, frat houses, private houses in the campus district, it's probably just best to stay away from using them, because almost every time it turns into being used for something it wasn't intended to be used for, and materials being put onto it that shouldn't be burned. So, but yeah, your single family home out, both cities do have burn ordinances for sizes of pits, distances. Ryan mentioned the structure, neighbors' fences, property lines, all that stuff comes into account too. So, but yeah, just straight in the heart of the campus district, it's probably just best we recommend that people don't bother getting one.
So, because we are on campus, we have a lot of students who ask questions. If somebody's listening and they want follow-up and they want to know more information, and they want to ask you guys some questions, do they reach out to your firehouses? How do they get in contact with you if they want more information?
Yeah, you could definitely reach out to the Urbana Fire Department. You could get my number directly, which is 217-649-1629. Or you can give my office a call, which is 217-328-0077. My email address is rbwild@urbanaillinois.us. So either of those ways to get a hold of me would be acceptable.
Yep, and my office is at Champaign Fire Station 1. Direct number is 217-403-7212, or my email is robert.simmons, SIMMONS, @champaign.il.gov.
And we will put this information in the bio as well, so you can find it there. Just click on it and ask them, because I promise you that both of them would rather answer questions before there's a need, and they would like to help out with that, so they're not making a call because there is a need. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in today and sharing a little bit more about fire safety with us.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yep, appreciate it. Thank you.
There are a lot of great activities to do in your home and outside your home, and some of them involve fire, like fireplaces and grilling and fire pits and things like that, but we want to keep you safe. So if you have any questions, if you're not sure, if you want to follow up on anything that we've talked about today, reach out to them. Find Robert or Ryan at their firehouses. Reach out to us here at Healthy Illini. We would love to put you in contact with them. We just want you to be safe. We want you to have a great time when you're on campus, or if you're just living in the community. We want you to have a lot of fun and be a vital part of the community, but we want you to be safe as you do that. So please let us know if you have any questions. Let us know if you have any comments. We'd love to follow up with you. But thank you for joining us today. You're on a personal journey no matter where you are in it. You are important and you matter. Your health and wellness are important and matter, and we're here to keep you well to excel. So go have a great week, Illini. Let us know how you're doing, and we'll catch you next time on Healthy Illini.